How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Norman. You know what? I've watched this trial from beginning to end, even so much that I took my TV to work with me and watched it at work. You know, at the prosecution, they allowed the defense to put Trayvon Martin on trial. That's what happened in this case. And they planted so much doubt. And even if we've been planting so much doubt, he still should have been convicted of manslaughter. There's two keys to this. When he said that they always get away with it, I mean, man, he stopped me from getting away with whatever he thought that he was getting away with. You know, I mean, that's grounds right there for a manslaughter verdict.
Thank you for the call.
But, beloved, he
oh.
could not have been convicted with the jury pool.
Yeah.
George Zimmerman had what we all want. He had a jury of his peers.
Yeah.
He had a jury of people that think like him, look like him, think and believe and act like him, and jury B37 said as much.
Yeah.
She said, that black girl used language I don't understand. I don't know what she talking about. I don't know nothing about that. But George, you understand, she related to George.
And I thought that was wrong. They tried to make the girl look like she couldn't read or write, but she knew what she
Right.
saw. John, let me ask you a question. Somebody asked me a question early on. If they said that if that was a black person shot a white person, they would have got. Do you think so? Do you think?
Oh, no question. He would have been under the jail.
Even with the stand the ground laws down?
He would have been under the jail, and at trial they would have brought a capital murder case, which in Florida is eligible for the death penalty. I mean, you think about it like this. We just talked about lenses and how that jury only saw Trayvon Martin with a certain lens. He's black, he's tall, he's got a hoodie on, he's up to no good, he's a thug, because this is how we perceive young black men.
You know, I got to ask both of you guys a question.
Let me just finish that point. So,
hold on for a second,
Okay, so now we switch roles and we play role reversal here. George Zimmerman is me, a black man in his neighborhood determined to make my neighborhood safe, and I got my piece in the back of me. And I see a young 17-year-old white kid, and he's an honor student, and he's the captain of the football team, and he's dating the head cheerleader and everything. And he looks suspicious to me, so for whatever reason, whatever takes place, after the 911 dispatcher tells me to stay my behind in the car, and then after the 911 dispatcher tells me, are you pursuing him? And I say, yeah. And he says, no, we don't need to do that. And then I blow this kid away. Okay, it's open and shut. I would have been tried and convicted in 20 minutes and sitting on death row.
I need to ask both of you guys a question. Let me answer this, take this call real quick, but I want to ask you both a question. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome. How you doing, Norman? Hey, how you doing, Pastor D?
Hi there.
It's funny, Pastor D, having you on there, and I'm thinking he can answer this question too. I was in the courthouse in Wilmington one day, and I saw where the Bible wasn't in the courthouse. They didn't ask someone to swear by when they took swore the oath to ask them, "Do I help you, God?" So you take God out of the courtroom. You allow same-sex marriages to be allowed in a courtroom. You take God out. So isn't it a shock that the enemy could sneak in and acquit this man of a crime where God is taken out of the courthouse?
Right.
And as far as revenge, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. So George Zimmerman will have to answer for what he's done.
Okay.
Thank you for the call.
I spent a lot of time in Delaware courts, and I have rarely seen a court proceeding where if there is going to be testimony, the Bible is not used.
Hold on for a second. Turn your TV down.
The Bible is, it depends on what kind of proceeding you saw, whether a Bible was used. Usually it's used to swear people in for witness testimony. But to the pillar of your faith, every courtroom is set up like Caiaphas's court. That's why it's the ceiling is high like the Roman court that Jesus stood in. So the courtroom is taken right out of the Bible. The state represents the Sanhedrins and those people, and the defense represents the angels and hosts of heaven, and the judge with the robe on represents the high priest of the courtroom. So every preacher ought to be in the courtroom, because the courtroom is in fact a replication of what's in the Bible, which is why Jesus said, take no thought of what you say when you stand before the magistrates, the judges, but the Holy Spirit, the men and women of God, will tell you what to say. Preachers are supposed to be in the courtroom telling defendants what to say.
Let me ask you two guys. Hold for 1 second, caller. I want to ask you two guys, because you guys both have dealt with this case in different ways because I know both of you. John is my fraternity brother, and the guy who's our national president said he wanted the people, in a sense, to pray for the Zimmerman family, and you got very upset and called the guy.
Right.
I hear that the guy who ran for Ben Mobley,
this morning,
said pray for the Zimmerman family. When people make comments like that, do you what upset you guys the most? I'm gonna ask you, then I'm gonna ask you, Pastor D, because both of you guys dealt with this situation in different kind of ways. I know because I'm in the community and I hear everything. When you hear our national president say that and don't say anything about the Trayvon Martin family, where did that take you?
Well, the fact of the matter is, it was reprehensible, in my view, for him to say, okay, let's pray for the Zimmerman family. Okay, I'm just not that liberal and forgiving. And it's high time that we call an act reprehensible, and reprehensible as it is. The fact of the matter is that I don't believe that George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin while Trayvon Martin was sitting on his chest. It's just impossible the way it's played out. As we all know, Trayvon Martin was shot in the heart. Now, if you are shot in the most powerful muscle of your body that pumps all of your blood, and someone is sitting on top of you when you shoot them, you're going to bleed all over them. There was no blood on George Zimmerman's gun. There was no blood on George Zimmerman, none of Trayvon Martin's DNA whatsoever. And the defense attorney already admitted in closing arguments that Trayvon Martin bled out. They said that's why he doesn't look like we're describing to you what his build was, because he had bled out. What happened, if you listen to the 911, if you listen to the witnesses' accounts, they heard help, help, help. Smooth, even, rhythmic intervals. You don't yell like that with that kind of rhythm and cadence if you're getting punched all in the face, as George Zimmerman said he was. I believe that George Zimmerman shot Trayvon Martin while they were both standing up. And the help, help, help came when George Zimmerman brandished his gun at Trayvon Martin, and Trayvon Martin knew at that moment he was about to be shot. He started yelling for help. You hear the yell for help end when the pistol goes off.
Okay, we're gonna keep the
It
conversation going.
wasn't pray for the Zimmerman family that ticked me off. The black Republican man was on this seat this morning, and I got dressed and came down here and tried to get him to engage me in dialogue because he made a statement regarding the organizers of the Wilmington rally, namely Pastor Sylvester Beeman and others. And he made a statement that all these black leaders organizing these rallies, stirring up the pot across America, are hoaxsters. He called us hoaxsters, or he called them, because Pastor Beeman organized Wilmington. And I took umbrage at that remark because when I was a child, I heard Malcolm X describe two types of Negroes on the plantation, a house Negro and a field Negro.
Plantation.
And I saw this morning what I consider a house Negro on television justifying and quantifying and qualifying the murder. See, he hasn't preached 300 funerals, Norm. I preached 300 young black male funerals. And I know for a fact that those who organized the Wilmington rally, Pastor Sylvester Beeman, Pastor Curry, all these other pastors that I don't generally roll with, they did it out of a sense of right and justice and frustration. And,
he called it a hoax?
This guy was calling them hoaxsters and all of this. And just as I thought, and these camera people here will tell you, when I got here and confronted him to his teeth, he invited me to have a cup of coffee.
Let's get these
so
calls.
often it's the ones with no backbone and no spine that do that. And I call that a Negro in blackface.
Yeah. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Brother Noah, how you doing? This is Malachi. I just want to make 3 comments. I thought I had to make this comment because what you addressed last week with the Treasurer's office and the governor and the situation, and then I heard about the brother that the Treasurer's office, how his credentials, and then the feud that's going on right now. And with this Trayvon thing, I'm like, we have to address that issue where the council, whoever voted to try to do what they did to him. I agreed to my spirit, and I heard what happened to him, and I think that I'm calling out to the governor. I'm asking that he come to the plate and resolve this matter because his office demands that be done. And I just want to touch on another point. Let's make 3 comments right quick. Yeah. The second comment is about Sheila Farrell. I'm like 50 years old. It was a young lady that was she was shot touching a peach tree in the community in Wilmington. I'll never forget this. As a child, now listen, I'm a child, and the pain of her murder, okay, behind a peach, okay. Now I'm jumping right to Trayvon Martin's case. The brother, how you doing, Pastor D? And the brother that's sitting next to you, he so eloquently broke down the case, Brother John. He broke down the case. And he says it's like it's not making any sense. Now this is my perception. Me looking as a 50-year-old African American man survived to be 50. Now check this out. Now I'm looking at what he broke down, and I look at the whole case. I'm saying, hold on a second, something's not right. The people that was representing the family to go after the victim, it's like they all in cahoots. It was like the system was in cahoots to do what it does. Like the brother said, they kept the race out. And I look at the whole thing, it's not about race. And the fact that they didn't even address it. Okay? And don't forget, we know we got California, Florida has a history with the race thing. Look at the election. And the last thing I'm going to say is this. The President of the United States, I'm 50 years old. When the President was speaking, the man got up and called him a liar. It goes back to the treasurer thing. I'm like, what? When stuff like this happens,
do you recall you and Al about the Sheila Farrell Bailey?
Yeah, we grew up together. Hey, hold for 1 second. I want to say a couple things. We were really all touched because we all hung out together. We all Sheila Farrell was from South Bridge. Well, she hung over South Bridge, so we all knew each other. I talked to the governor. He was at the rally. And he said he's going to have a meeting with the state treasurer. So I wanted to let you know that. That's why you watch Community Crossfire. You find out what's going on.
Yeah, hey, Carla, I also want to tell you too. I had an opportunity. Well, if you can still hear me, I had an opportunity to talk to the governor too. And Governor Markell is a good man.
I said that at the rally.
Yes, you did.
I said that.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
He was at the rally, and Governor Markell was standing there with his arms folded, just a member of the audience in the rally like everybody else. He didn't sit in a special assigned seat. He didn't have his entourage and security detail around him. He wanted to be among the people while we addressed this very poignant issue, and not only our country, but in our state as well. Governor Markell heard us when we said that we don't want stand your ground here in Delaware.
Right.
Governor Markell heard us when we said that we have an outrageously expensive prison system and an underfunded school system.
Right.
Governor Markell heard me also when I said to him, you can also put some of the power back into the parents' hands, because we now live in a state where you can't discipline your child without some repercussion coming your way. And that's outrageous. So now if you have a city where it was noted that per capita was one of the most dangerous cities in America, and now you tell the parents you can't whoop your kids' behinds anymore. That doesn't help.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
But the court system is egregious.
I just want to say that I believe that what we're really dealing with in this country is racial prejudice. Jim Crow is alive and well. When you look at the prison system and the number of black men and women going to prison 7 times higher than whites for the same crime, you know something is wrong.
Right.
Now, I'm tired of hearing this whites racist, because you know they're racist when they talk. They don't even know that they're being racist when they speak. And so they identify themselves. So what I'm saying is the closet racists are out of the closet now. And if you read some of the comments that they have posted about this case, it is unbelievable to me that in 2013 we could be dealing with these kinds of comments right here in this state.
Yeah.
Now, I listened to WDEL on Friday afternoon to the Flaherty brothers.
Yeah.
And Colin Flaherty delivered the worst racism I have ever heard on radio. So if we're going to deal with it, let's deal with it. I look at whites as aggressors. They came over here, they killed all the natives, they brought the blacks over here, 400 years. They expect everybody to all equal out when the Voting Rights Act was just passed in 1964. We have institutional
and almost taken away from you in 2013.
And Delaware was the last, Liz, Delaware, was the last to ratify the Constitution.
And what does that tell you?
And
that was
here
because
it tells
of
me that Delaware is still headquarters. Norman always jumps up and down, rightly so, about not enough minority representation on important boards throughout the state of Delaware. But if you ever want to see the ugly face of racism, not prejudice, racism, because we all have prejudices. What makes that prejudice dangerous to another human being is when I have the power to impose that prejudice on somebody else, now it becomes racism. So the racism, if you ever want to see it blatant, sit in the Superior Court of the state of Delaware from Monday to Friday. Just sit there and watch cases. Watch how the bails are applied. Watch how the plea bargains are given. Watch the disproportionate ratio of blacks who get mandatory time as opposed to whites for the same offenses. If you ever want to see the ugly face of racism, sit in on some of the bank board meetings. Find a black, you'll be like God trying to find one good man. You just look for a black face on the bank boards, on the other boards that matter in the state of Delaware. And this will not change until we challenge the powers that be through creative demonstration and economic
Hey, thanks for the call, Liz.
Take care.
Okay, now let me
Hold on, let me take a couple calls real quick. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Norman. I just want to say that when they first showed that Zetterman said that Trayvon beat him up, okay, when they picked him up and put him in the police car, he was not bleeding. Then all of a sudden, you see all this blood and his nose was bleeding. Now, how could Trayvon do all that? When he got in the police car, he wasn't bleeding or anything. But then the next time they showed him, he was bleeding. His head was messed up. I don't understand that.
Okay, thank you for the call.
I think Trayvon whooped his behind, ma'am. I think the average or white person with that think they got some authority, I think they grossly underestimate little black kids or children in the hood today, and most of them will do an ollie shuffle on an older white man if they don't have the gun. However, the problem is Trayvon couldn't stand his ground because the ground that Trayvon was standing on was never his. It was George Zimmerman's ground the whole time. And so Trayvon didn't have any stand your ground rights. So people say, what happened to Trayvon's right to stand your ground? The Delaware Code on Self-Defense, which I'm really familiar with and was convicted under, requires the same thing that stand your ground does. Your back got to be against the wall. You got to meet deadly force with deadly force at the commission of the fatal act. When you fire the gun, you got to be under the threat of death, not 3 seconds ago when you commit the fatal act. Those standards were never applied in the courtroom, Norm, simply because the trial itself was configured to be what the governor's office wanted it to be. Check the history of the prosecutor.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you may have just joined in or you've been watching the show. You know we usually here from 9 to 10. Bishop Weeks has been so generous, he and Aziz, to let us go for 2 hours because this is such an important issue. The first hour or so I did by myself and Wayna join me. This hour we have John Robinson and Pastor D join me to talk about race relations and a whole bunch of other stuff. We dealt with the Paula Dean, we dealt with the N-word and jobs and just the court systems. We want to talk about whatever you want to talk about because this is your show. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Norm, you got a great show, man. Hey, Pastor D is Trav, man. Hey, listen, I don't think, we can't have it both ways, man. My heart goes out to Trayvon family, man, but I can remember when OJ was going to trial and everybody was boom by yan and jumping around, and OJ is just as guilty as Zimmerman. It's sad, man. I mean, me personally, right? I mean, not eye for eye, but my hat's off to his dad, man, because I probably would have acted out in the courtroom. There's no doubt I would have acted out in the courtroom. He wouldn't be here, or I wouldn't be here. But, hey, man, we can't have it both ways. It's sad, man. It's sad, man.
So, what do you mean by that? Let these guys answer you.
Well, Trev, you and me know that the problem there is the same procedural process that set OJ free when it shouldn't have is the one that set George free when it shouldn't have. In other words, it wasn't, you and me know guilt or innocence in the courtroom don't make a difference. It's a Ouija board of law called words, and it's who has the best hired gun lawyer to do the best job to fit the pigs in the holes. A lot of guilty people in Delaware, at least, go free, and a lot of innocent people go to jail, not because of their behavior, but because of their lack of due process and representation. And in this case, Trayvon was not adequately represented within the realm of the Constitution that entitles him to due process. OJ was adequately represented, and so he got off when he should have been on, but the balance and moral arc of the universe is long. It leans toward justice, and right now he's sitting down when he should be standing up.
I was reading the paper earlier today, right, and OJ ain't doing too good, and he actually confessed. He said he's gonna shock the world before he goes, and he's gonna let them know that he did that. You know, everybody know he did it, man. And I mean, two wrongs don't make it right. Two wrongs don't make it right. Make no mistake about it, man. I believe the young brother got it unjust, but it's racism. It's just the way it is. We can't get around it. Our kids are gonna be talking the same thing 50 years from now.
Wow, that's sad. Thank you. That's sad that they be talking the same thing. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. How you doing, Norm? How you doing? First of all, it was a kangaroo court. Okay, the young lady was Creole. She wasn't ghetto. She wasn't from the hood. She was from the Creole. She's from New Orleans. So.
And she speaks 3 languages too.
She was from New Orleans, so she has a dialect. So a lot of people was assuming that she was ghetto and all that. What the prosecution should have done was prepare the jury for this young lady and tell her that, say that this young lady is going to be talking in a different language. She's young and she's going to be talking in a different language, a different dialect. They did not prepare the jury.
Do you think that would have made a difference?
Well, it would have at least prepared the jury, because what they did is they used her as an example, as she was talking from her dialect, or what she understands as a young lady from the city.
Right.
But she is originally from Louisiana.
Right.
And she has a dialect in the way that she talks.
Yeah.
She's not hood. She just has a dialect.
But
now, I'm going to go to from there is that she lacks a little bit of education. She lacks education. Now, couple that with her dialect, it set her back. It set the case back.
Right.
Now, this is where I'm getting ready to come right now, is that we need to start educating our young black people. All of you guys that's sitting on the jury, sitting in the show right now.
They ain't gonna let me on the jury.
You are all educated. Okay? Well, you're now educated. You sound very educated, Reverend. But anyway, our foundation for our young black people has got to be education. You know that, Norm. I'm a graduate of Delaware State University. I know how to make money because I'm educated. You know how to make money because you're educated. Mm-hmm. These young black people that are coming up now do not know how to make money because they are not educated. Yeah. And we need to put that foundation back into our black communities. If we don't, we can talk about this until we blue in the face. We don't get that foundation, the N-word, all that means nothing. Richard Pryor came along. He was saying the N-word. We were based on our people were based on education at the time that Richard Pryor was using the N-word. We didn't have these shootings and things like this. Our foundation is built on
education.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Beloved, here's why we can't let the government off the hook with what was done to her. I sit in the federal court here and go with people all the time. I have noticed that the court system now have ghettofied interpreters working for the police agencies who will come into the trial and dissect a tape.
Whoa, your phone's up too loud.
Where they have taped people, and they'll say a 16-inch TV means 16 logs. They break down all, in other words, they have culturally competent people where they have bothered to understand the language to put people away. But we don't have culturally competent people in the schools breaking down the Ebonics. We don't have cultural competency in the courtroom. And if we can spend money to train police officers to know the lingo to lock people up, we can train culturally competent people in order to set them free from the bondage of ignorance in our community.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Norman? And your panel, Reverend Johnson and John. Listen, I was listening to the show, and I was thinking about one thing that I kind of didn't hear anyone talk about early today, and that's the fact about how long and how far people have grown. Because I remember there would be a time where there would be riots in the streets. There would be all kind of inhumane activity going on, looting and things like. And I think we need to pat ourselves on the back because we finally showed the white folks that we have some dignity with ourselves, and we not the dream of Martin Luther King is coming into play, that we don't necessarily have to use violence in order to prove our point and to show our growth and where we want to go in life and the positive things that we want to point our next generation that's coming behind us and where we want to go.
Hold for 1 second, John.
Back to slavery.
Hold on for a second. John wanted to interject on it. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'd like to address that. I really appreciate your eloquence there. I've heard this often from people that we need to show the white man that we can be dignified. We need to show the white man that we can control ourselves. We need to show. And the fact of the matter is, we don't need to show anything, because to say that this is what we have to do would be dehumanizing ourselves in the first place. It's almost as like to exhibit these qualities as a people is contrary to how we normally are. Mm-hmm. And I just don't buy it, and I just don't get it. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can express ourselves, and we can express a position, and we can ask for certain things to be done. And when those things don't happen, and we're consistently persecuted, eventually something has got to give.
Yeah, but I think
you take what went on in the Middle East, and they call it the Arab Spring, and nation after nation has said, okay, we're not being heard. Okay, we're not being addressed. Okay, so now it's time to act quite differently than you would expect from someone with some decorum and some civility about themselves.
Right.
So it's not about us being people that have to
hold credit has to be given three places.
Let me take. Hold.
Just three places.
How you doing? Welcome to the show. Let me take a few calls.
Hi, Norm. Hi, Pastor D. And,
Hi there.
John.
Hey there.
Hi, Norm, I'm just calling. I want to ask a couple questions. First of all, let me say to Pastor D and to all those tonight that held that rally up to Rodney Square, it was very, very awesome. Pastor D, it don't take long for news to get around Delaware for somebody to say that somebody did something. I heard this morning that you apparently had went down to the TV station. I don't know for what, they didn't say, but apparently you went down to address, and I'm going to call his name, Mr. Benjamin Mobley, who was very degrading this morning to African Americans. He was very degrading to Trayvon Martin case. I could have went through that TV. I was so upset. I got calls from other people that was very, very upset. So first of all, I want to thank you for taking a stand. And if that's what you did, to go down to speak with him, because if he had any chance of winning an election, if he's going to run, I think his chances are slimmer than they probably would have been because of what happened this morning. Mm-hmm. Now, I've heard a lot tonight about the Trayvon Martin case, and of course I could make some statements also, but I have a question. Why did it take so long for that mother? I listened to her interview the other day, and she was saying it was 8 o'clock in the morning. She was at work, and when she got the call about her son being shot,
and this had happened in the evening. Why did it even take them so long to even notify them that their son had been shot and this situation had taken place? Can somebody answer that for me?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Thanks, Josie.
I think, Josie, the value that's put on the life of our children across this country has been, and I don't think we have realized it as a people, just how devalued black youth life has become, young black life. Let me digress to your previous caller, though, because I think this is important. The reason we deserve some credit for not rioting, you're looking at it right now. You have Community Crossfire and another point of view. In the 60s, we didn't have no Norman Olivers with TV shows, so black folk had nowhere to get the steam off, and nobody with courage enough to sit up on the media and put these issues on the table, so we had no outlet of expression. So this is part of it. And then good, well-meaning white folk deserve some credit, because if you look at the marches, the Jewish guy said today, you're not alone. The white people who are marching are saying, you're not alone. So that cuts down on the potential for riots. And then finally, the preachers deserve a whole lot of credit, which is why I came down here to confront Mr. Mobley to his face, because these pastors, though I am no fan, they're not fans of mine. They don't, too much care for me, I don't think. But I love Pastor Curry, I love Pastor Beeman, I love IMAC, because they stand for the things that my little boy need. You understand? And yes. And,
how you doing? Welcome to the show. Hello.
And they've done a good job.
Hello?
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, you're on. Go ahead.
I just want to mention this. That I would appreciate if you allow myself to come on your program, and also Mandelicon, so that we can give a perspective also from the community. We hear you.
Absolutely.
We hear
Absolutely. You let me know what day you want to come on, okay? And we'll talk about it when I see you. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Norman.
How you doing?
This is Princess. I live in the city of Wilmington, and I would like to see, will you guys have a rally or some kind of strategy to get the black men in the community to take a stand for their community?
Okay.
Just men.
I think they've had a lot of those kind of rallies, Princess. I think, me personally, I would like for us to really change the conversation and have conversations and rallies about how to, like Pastor D was saying, I talk about every Sunday, how can we be a part of being on board of directors, people who are really making real decisions? How can we get involved with the economic empowerment? I think that talking about social issues are always great, but at some point we got to.
BC, we need to do less talking and more action.
That's my point. You understand my point? And I don't know if you guys agree with me. I think that talk about social issues a lot of times is very important, because that's what I
Here's what I'd like.
But we have to start talking about economic empowerment. We have to talk about being on strong boards. To your point, I was appointed to a bank board, and a black guy tried to block me.
But see that.
Thank you, Princess.
That's what shouldn't go unchecked, huh?
And what people need to understand is that is also under the umbrella of the context of this show that we're doing tonight. Mm-hmm. The show, just to bring it back, because we've been rolling for about an hour and 45 minutes. This show is called Race Relations in America, and this discussion about putting ourselves in position to be empowered to make change in the boardroom and in the courtroom is part of that discussion.
Absolutely.
And we need to have this discussion, even if you're in the presence of someone who doesn't agree with you.
Let's take this call. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Let's take a couple calls.
Hey, Storm, and great show as usual. Let me just say this: the biggest problem, not so much. The case was a tragedy. I don't, whether I agree with the verdict or not, that's not important. What's important to me in the black community is that black men need to learn how to be, the parents, they need to be better fathers. They need to demonstrate that they can take leadership in their homes.
And I think that would help the whole situation. We got all these men out here with these illegitimate children that won't marry the mothers, that whether they in church or not. I don't see much difference from the church brothers than the brothers on the street. I thought the church men should have some dignity, and they should marry them, just like Malcolm said a long time ago, make the family whole and wholesome, and then begin to demonstrate that they can be fathers and men. And I think that would help the community. But as long as the men around here got all these children all over the place, I don't even hear them when they talk to me about masculinity and all this, and they got 4 or 5 kids everywhere, and they ain't taking care of none of them. Everything else they say to me don't mean nothing. Because if you won't demonstrate leadership in your home, even the Bible said if a man don't take care of his own, especially them of his own household, he's worse than an unbeliever. So men need to ante up and be men before they start talking about all this other stuff. That's my point tonight.
Thank you.
I think back to the sister's point, and this is what happens. I think Brother Cal's call reflects exactly what happens. If that's Cal's opinion, that's his business. I've got children outside of my marriage. Or not children.
Hold up.
Not children, but I have.
Hello, Mr. Oliver.
Hold on for 1 second.
We as men all have a story, and we've all made mistakes. But the sister called and said, "Can I just get the men to have something that helps black men?" I call for a camp. We need not the boot camp, but a pre-boot camp where we help black men first to love black men, because that species is hunting each other like animals in a jungle. And so we can get a building, and we have enough therapeutic knowledge, man, the fraternities can run it. And those of us that have the TC background can do the drug treatment part. Brother Cal can come and talk about responsible fatherhood. But I didn't grow up in no community where the black fathers had integrity either. They just knew how to hide. I found out years later that Mr. So-and-so was sleeping with Miss So-and-so, and Mr. So-and-so, the mailman, was really my Uncle Bubba, and my Uncle Bubba was actually so-and-so cousin. And guess what? That's been going on since the beginning of time. Each soul must account and repent for his or her own sin. But about murder and the destruction of a race, there are some things we can do.
That's what the lady said.
When you had that league, look what it birthed. There are all kinds of leagues after the Storm and Norman Classic.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mr. Oliver.
How you doing?
I'm hearing about all the injustice that happened with Trayvon and everything like that. But there was a lot of people that don't understand about how much they paid for those 5, 6 juries to have the luxury as far as, having movies, having dinner, and what that state actually paid for. It was over $30,000, along with the protection of what it took to protect Zimmerman.
You know, it's
another $60,000.
You know, it's funny.
So therefore, they wasn't really trying to come up with a verdict. They was really actually sitting back, having a good time, where they had pedicures and things of that nature. But a lot of people don't understand.
I don't think they had a good time in that jury.
And a lot of people didn't hear about what they actually paid for them to actually not trial this case or not actually have a positive verdict, because the verdict was already made.
Thank you for the call.
All it was for them was to just sit back and just waste time. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Actually, I forgot what I was going to say. The phones are ringing. Let's take some calls.
Can I, before we take the next call, can I just piggyback on the responsible fatherhood and very, very briefly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hold for 1 second, okay?
Okay.
We need to also acknowledge that the problem of responsible fatherhood or irresponsible fatherhood in the black community is systemic, community-wide. That means that women also have a role and a place in this too. If you are a young lady who is actively practicing baby mama drama and doing all that you can to disenfranchise your child's father from the parental process, I urge you to stop. Also, in Delaware, and right here in our own state, we have the Delaware family court system. And it is widely known throughout the attorneys in Delaware as women's court. meaning that if you do have every intention in the world to go into that court and exercise your parental rights as a father, they will assist the mother in blocking you any way they can. So that piece of it also has to be acknowledged and addressed as well.
And we can have that discussion because that's a whole nother issue. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Am I lying?
No, totally. No, you're right.
I was just calling to say the lady called about why it took so long for them to notify the mother.
Right.
The police report claimed that he didn't have any ID on him. That's why it took so long. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Oh, thank you. That's why we have intelligent callers calling here. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I would like to say one thing, that nothing is going to change until Jesus walks the earth.
Okay. Thank you. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Yeah, you got to turn your TV. Everybody's calling with your TV up, and we can't hear you. I mean, there you see what I say every Sunday. You can hear the echo, right? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay.
All right, listen, this is my comment, all right? Hello?
Yeah, we here. Go ahead.
All right, Trayvon was being profiled from the beginning through the trial. They turned this around to being Trayvon as the how you say the pursuer and not the victim. All right, and then also they turned around and they said that Trayvon was on top of him, but the gun was behind his back. That nobody said it was behind the guy's back. So if I'm on you, shrouding you, why are you? How can you get to the gun? All right. So the whole point is that he had to have the gun already in his hand to do that. And then again, one of the jurors, her husband was a lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So to look at it that way, how can Trayvon be a victim when he was turned around? The prosecutor, I mean the state, did not even show him as a kid. He was a 16-year-old, 17-year-old kid just trying to do whatever any kid go through a neighborhood. You can't walk through a neighborhood and go to a 7-Eleven. I had a 7-Eleven 3 blocks away from my house. I told my son, do not go outside at night to buy anything because you don't know if there's a neighborhood watch in your neighborhood. Because I'm Puerto Rican, and I was raised in an interracial neighborhood. All my friends are black, Puerto Rican, but the thing is, I can't tell my son, be careful, because I don't know if you got somebody in the neighborhood watch going to maybe shoot you or kill you, and that was wrong.
Thank you, buddy. Wow, man, this has been a marathon. We're going to take a couple more calls, and then we'll kind of shut it down. I want to get you guys to do a commentary. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hello. I got a comments with Norm. My name is Sherman Miller.
Mm-hmm.
He knows me well. I write a lot of blogs and so forth on national commentaries.
Go ahead. Okay. Sherman, go ahead.
Hey, Norm, my question for you is, what I'm concerned is there's roughly 1 million black folk in jail. And 70% of them are black males. So therefore that means we have lost 1 million black votes just due to felonies. What are we doing to legalize some of these drugs so these drugs are not putting our kids in jail?
That's a very good point, Sherman, and I think that some of them we need to look at some of our laws, and I think that right there is a way of racism too.
Hey, look, if you're in Washington State or Oregon, you're good.
Yeah, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Norman, I don't think Josie's question was answered adequately. This lady, Trayvon's mother, she did not raise this boy. This boy was raised by one of his father's exes ever since he was 3 years old. Anderson Cooper interviewed her, and they didn't treat this woman right. Their father wasn't even home that evening.
So
and that was a couple reasons why. These are the problems that go on in our neighborhood, which we are confronting now. no nuclear family, and no one in the home. These parents have settled out of court with the homeowners association with that neighborhood. I tell you what, Norman, research his mother and his father, and we'll find out a whole lot more.
Thank you very much.
You.
I certainly am not.
How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yes, this is a very good show.
Turn your TV down. Turn your TV down a little bit.
I just want to. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I just want to comment on the lady who had called about how long it took for the mother to be notified regarding Trayvon's death. Florida has always had a historic history of racism. My opinion on that comment is if it took them, if they turned Zimmerman away, meaning that as soon as he shot Trayvon, he was not officially charged. They just, took him in, looked him over, and set him free. I would not be surprised that if they kept Trayvon's body, got rid of whatever evidence was there before they finally notified the mother. And because of the way this case started off from the beginning, I can see them getting rid of all evidence before the mother was called, and that it didn't have much to do with not having ID, because they did find the parents. So they knew who the parents were. Mm-hmm. But they quickly got rid of the evidence before they could come in there and start doing the little investigations that they did. And that's just my comment.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I want to thank everyone for calling. We're going to take one more call. We've been doing this for 2 hours. This goes to show you that Community Crossfire could carry a show for 2-3 hours because we have so many people who watch. And this is important. And we're going to have a crazy show next. So not crazy. The show next Sunday is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very adult. It's going to be somewhere that I've never been. And it's not a Jerry Springer show, but I don't even want to say it. So we're going to take one more call and I'm going to let you guys kind of talk in your own way. If you guys could just talk to the camera about how you feel about it, okay? A minute apiece. How you doing? One quick call. You got to get it out quickly, okay?
Okay, how you doing, Norman? This Sam guy calling. Real quick, here's the deal. Basically, in America, every citizen has a right to walk down any street in America, and they should be free from attack because of their race or color. So given that this guy Zimmerman basically profiled Trayvon because of his race, we should expect a federal prosecution. Now, here's where the rubber really hits the road. Our elders fought for people of color to be in positions of power. So right now, President Obama put another African American, Eric Holder, in as the U.S. attorney. So we're going to have to watch and see what Eric Holder does. Because if with Eric Holder in this position, if we don't get a federal prosecution, then we are really in trouble.
Man, I wish you had called earlier, Sam. That's why you got to come on the show. I've been telling you that. Thanks, Sam. All right, you guys in your own way, close up. You got 30 seconds, please. Go ahead. Okay. Talk to the camera.
I just want to say that shows like this, Racism in America, are very important to be had in terms of dialogue. It's important to have these discussions, and it's important to keep these discussions going and be open and willing to receive the opinion of someone else who disagrees with you. Gil Scott-Heron didn't lie when he said the revolution will be televised.
Pastor Dan.
I want to say to my city and my state and to my people that this is not a moment, it's a movement. When Lot's wife left out of Sodom, she looked back and she became a pillar of salt. She became a monument. As long as she kept her face pointed toward the future, she was part of a movement. We have an opportunity to be part of a movement. But when we look back at the old strategies and the old ways of doing things, then we get back to the place where we got roaches in the kitchen. When I was growing up and we had roaches, we turned the lights on. The roaches would scatter and run everywhere. The light has been turned on in America, and the roaches are running. We've got to get some roach spray, not the weak stuff that makes them stronger and make them come back, but we got to get an exterminator to come in. That exterminator is love for one another. That exterminator is a quality education. That exterminator is go back to God, go back to church.
Thanks.
That exterminator is self-respect and love for one another.
Thank you both, man. And again, thank the callers. Thank you for coming down, man, at short notice. And now, see, look, the phones are still ringing. Just let you know.
You need another 2 hours.
Yeah, we got to get you guys on. Ladies and gentlemen, tune in next week. We're going to have a very, very, very intriguing show, and it's going to be an adult show. God, I don't even want to tell you what it's going to be because every folks calling. It's
Be careful, Richard Korn is not on the air.
No, you're a funny guy. I want to thank again. I want to thank all the ministers. You know what you were talking about for the rallies.
Yes,
I think it's important, and we got to keep on praying for everyone. Great show. Thanks to callers. Same guy, I need you to come on here, buddy. Whew, I'm out of here. I hope I hope you got educated tonight. Got educated. That's the important thing, and we try to educate you on this show. Bye bye.